Welcome back for a session on different kinds of grow lights, plus the timers and controllers you need to automate your geothermal greenhouse. You will see a series of videos I shot in my geothermal lab in British Columbia, Canada. I'm Alex Smith, host of Radio Ecoshock, as broadcast on 100 non-profit radio stations in 4 countries. This is Build a Geothermal Greenhouse in Your Backyard. Here's a quick list of the videos in this session and what you can expect. We start with a workshop on controllers. You get my notes on low-cost heat pump, a heavy-duty temperature controller, an interval timer, and how to daisy chain multiple controllers. We move on to why you need safety glasses with grow lights and an unboxing of an adjustable spectrum grow light, the Lumini 650 watt 200 OR. I demonstrate the Lumini in both veg and bloom modes. Then we begin to test the greenhouse at the start of a Canadian winter on geothermal heat only. Of course, the 1000 watt LEDs I show you add a tiny bit of warmth. On the coldest nights, I put a tarp over the greenhouse, as you will see. Around halfway through, I demo a couple of inexpensive remote temperature sensors, the Accurite brand you see everywhere. But get the right model. This tells me the temperature in the greenhouse at any time when I'm inside my toasty house. I tell you how to give your LED grow lights a periodic rest to give them longer life, and ways to control exact humidity, especially if you want to use your greenhouse as a little drying room for a couple of weeks. Finally, we test the output of a geothermal greenhouse in February. Any heat saved in the rock from summer is long gone. Do we get real geothermal heat in the charts? Stay tuned for this in-depth greenhouse operations session. This little video is about timers and controls that I'm experimenting with or am actually using. I've got a couple of toys to show you here. This one is a periodic timer. It's called a short-term periodic timer. It will run something so that it's on for up to 30 minutes, and then it will turn off for anywhere up to an hour, and then turn back on again. So you plug this into the power over here, and then it will operate whatever's plugged into that, and it's a heavy-duty outlet for, I might want to run this heat pump for half an hour and then have it turn off for 15 minutes while it de-ices. If it's very cold out, the heat pump can freeze itself because it's just a little portable AC heat pump, and then come back on again and run for another 30 minutes. Now, I had some concerns about whether the heat pump would remember to come back on as a heat pump. It has 4 functions. It can run as an air conditioner, it can run as a dehumidifier, it can run as just a fan. But the Danby people, this is a Danby Premier 11,000, which I bought used for 150 bucks. They're smart. They've made the machine remember to come back on in whatever cycle you left it. So if you left it as a heat pump, when it comes back on as a heat pump. And there is no battery in this thing, and so there's no digital memory, so they must have made a mechanical rotary switch which chooses the functions, and it's a great idea. So I can indeed have this running on the periodic timer. This is a Century brand timer. It costs $28 American plus some duty and shipping to get it into Canada. There's a better one made by Titan Controls that's $65 American. Right now I'm pretty low on money, so I thought I'd buy the cheaper one and hope that it lasts. Right here you'll notice in the corner there's a light sensor, and that means that this can operate either only in the daytime, or when the lights are on, for example, or at nighttime when the lights are off. And That's very handy because, for example, if I'm using this portable AC as a heat pump, I may only want it to run at night. So I can set this sensor that when the lights are off, this will run, and when the lights are on, it won't. Very handy. And that is all set by the way that you run these dials. I'm actually going to run the video over this because I may need to refer to this video at some point. And you can change it to 24-hour control, or you can set it day only. See if I can get a decent shot of this. That's for setting it day only, or you can set it to night only, according to the order in which you turn these knobs. So if you turn this knob first, for example, and then this one, that may set it to daytime only, and the reverse. So that's all very handy. Now, what if I only want this heat pump to come on if it's below 47 degrees Fahrenheit? And I could add this to the chain. Now this is an Inkbird, and let's see, what model is it? It's a C2006T, and as you'll notice, it's three-pronged, so it's heavy duty. It will take something like this heat pump. So I could in fact set this to sense when it's 47 degrees, when it's crossing that threshold, and when it is, it turns on the power. Then I could put this periodic timer on top of that, just plug it in there like a chain, and it would run it for half an hour on, 20 minutes off, for example, but only when it's below 47 degrees. And when it comes above 47 degrees, this would shut the power off. Now I'm not sure if I'm going to do something like that, but my point is that you can chain controls in order to get things to happen at different temperatures or at different times. There's a lot of uses for these periodic controllers. I could, for example, put it on that fan so that the fan would come on and exhaust and change the air in the greenhouse every 5 minutes. And I could set it so it would only do that every 5 minutes during the daytime. And this thing even goes down to seconds. If you have something that wants to run just for a few seconds, 30 seconds, you can have it 30 seconds on, 20 seconds off. So, very handy little device. I'll probably get about 2 of these, and I can get 2 of these for the price of a single Titan Controls. The Titan Controls one may last longer, and it's probably more dust and waterproof, so there's something to be said for that. Now, I showed you the very basic kind of timer which I'm using to control the fan here in the greenhouse. But this is a better unit. It's a Woods Model 5009 indoor 7-day digital timer with 2 outlets. So I could have 2 lights running off it, and they're both heavy duty, 3-pronged. One of the beauties of this device, something I really like about it, is it has an internal battery. When you first buy this device, you plug it into the wall for 10 minutes so the internal battery can build up some power. And why that's nice is that recently we had to turn the power off to do some wiring here in the greenhouse. And when we did that, all my timers, well, 3 of them, went off time, and I had to reset them, and that's a pain in the butt. This one will actually remember. Now, how long it will remember, I'm willing to bet quite a while, because it doesn't take much to hold a digital memory, and maybe it'll last 24 hours. I don't know for sure. But that means if the power goes off and I'm away, when I get back, this will still be set on the correct time, and it will still turn things on and off when I want them to. So that's a real beauty. Now this thing, this Woods model 5009, will allow you to set up to 20 events per day, 7 days a week. So there's quite a bit of memory in there. So if you wanted something to happen 20 times a day, you could, or if you want to have something, 5 times during the day, you can have it happen with this little digital timer clock. So far it's working very nicely. I usually avoid these things because I find the programming so difficult and difficult to remember if I don't use it for like 3 months and then I come back to it. Oh God, how does it work? Now the instructions are very good for this, even though I'm not great at setting timers. I got this one set pretty easily, so that's all good. But even better, this little piece of paper stuck in the side of the unit is a tiny version of the instructions. So if I misplace the main instructions, right there with the timer are the instructions. So Woods people, I love you for doing that. You know me. You've left instructions right with the unit, so that's super. I think sometimes people could print the instructions right on the back, but they haven't done that, but at least they've given me an extra copy. So that's working well. Got some deer in the back alley here. They come into the village when it's cold and not much food up in the mountains. So after a very mild January, we had a cold snap here in February. It's now, let's see, minus 10 degrees centigrade or 14 degrees Fahrenheit. As you can see, I've got all the shutters up on the greenhouse. Those are insulated shutters. Even the south side is covered up except for that top gable. There is light coming in the glass at the top, but basically this is almost like a shuttered shed. Oh, it's nice and warm in here. So let's see, currently it's 55 degrees in here, while it's that's Fahrenheit. Well, it's 14 degrees Fahrenheit outside, or it's 12 degrees centigrade in here, minus 10 centigrade outside. There is no heater on. The geothermal heat is not working because it stops at 47 degrees Fahrenheit. That's as high as it can go anyway. After that, I'm just cooling the room down. So the heat is coming from the sun, which is coming down in through the roof, but mostly from these two high pressure sodium lamps. There's a 1,000 watt lamp over there and a 600 watt lamp up above me. And in respect to those, I'm just now going to put on my safety glasses because I've been doing some real investigation into these lamps. They do put out UVB radiation, possibly even a small amount of UVC, which is very bad for your eyeballs. So you need a pair of these glasses. They're green glasses when you're wearing them, and they are about $29. They keep the UV ray out of your eyes. So I'm just going to put those on now for safety. I mean, my eyes are worth it. I don't want to have cataracts later in life because I was fooling around growing things. The lettuce is doing well. Of course, these are easy temperatures for lettuce. I just hacked away a bunch of it last night. Did a cut right off of the top of that one because we made a salad. It's our second salad of the week. Those were only planted a few weeks ago, so we're already getting good salads. So I have one LED light, a 1,000 watt light. Got it for 158 bucks on Amazon. That's in Canada. It's cheaper in the States. And the problem that I have with it, it's good for the flowering stage, the budding stage, and in fact you can grow anything with it, but it was very heavy on the red light. And I wanted to see if I could get a light where I could control when it's in the vegetative stage and when it's in the flowering stage with the lights. And that's possible. And so I ordered this Lumini 200 OR, which is 650 watts, so they tell us, and it is dimmable, and those are the words that you want to look for if you want to be able to control your light spectrum. Now it says in the manual that I can control the light coverage, I guess which LEDs come up, on a smartphone, but it seems like I need a Lumini Wi-Fi master controller to do that, and that isn't included in this box. So I won't be able to control the color spectrum from my smartphone unless I order that extra piece, and I haven't looked into it or how much it would be. However, this model does come with a little controller, a remote, that does allow you to control your channels from this remote. Now it does have a little Wi-Fi button, but I think you need the master controller to do it. So I can control the red, the blue, and even the UVB with this controller, and also there's a handy little setting at the bottom for either veg or bloom. So I'll want to use the veg in the earlier stages. Now I presume that when this goes to veg stage, it just turns off some of the LEDs that would otherwise be on, and therefore it won't be 650 watts at that point. What does it drop down to? 400 watts? I don't know, and they don't tell you. If I had a power meter, maybe I'd be able to tell you the answer to that, but right at the moment I don't. I don't even know what this cable is or why it's in the box at this point. Maybe I'll find out. But let's go to the actual unit. Now it's interesting, I got this for 200 bucks on Amazon Canada. It'll be cheaper in the States because I have Prime. That includes the delivered cost. And now when I go on Amazon Prime to look for it, it's currently unavailable, out of stock, and they don't know when they're going to get it back. These are the hanging devices. So they look pretty stable. Some good wire there. Should be able to hang it up by that. What have I got in here? That's the power cord. Well, it looks pretty good, actually. It's pretty heavy. I can tell you that much. I'll get rid of this box so I can set it on the table. Hold on. On the back, it looks like what we have is an on-off switch. The power switch, I believe that this little cable here is going to let you daisy chain these so that you have several of them. Very stable metal box. Very heavy metal hook on the sides to hold on to this thing. You can see that there are some grills on the side to let the fan come out. Going around to the front of this, we can see that it is a Lumini-Gro 200R, and there's an LED screen here which tells you what's happening with your color spectrum, or whether you're in veg or bloom or whatever's happening on that respect. So let's look under the hood. Okay, so sure enough, we got a bunch of large LEDs there. They're looking pretty good, and a 2-fan setup. So that's for the cooling for. And it's interesting, I can't tell exactly by these which are what. We'll only know when they light up, really. But what I do know about this unit is that it has, let's see if I can set this down. One of the settings and spectrums that it has some LEDs in there for UVB specifically, and that's ultraviolet B. You can't see it. When they're lit up, you won't know it. They might look very dim, but you can't see the UVB. It can be damaging to your eyes, so if you're in a grow room where you have just the UVB or the UVB enabled, then you want to be wearing those special glasses to cut out the UVB light to protect your eyes. Why would you want to just have UVB on? Well, you might want to turn off all the other LEDs, and just run the UVB in order to use this unit to spice up the buds on a marijuana plant. So you can make the marijuana actually richer if in the very last days of the buds, I'm told, you run UVB onto those buds. So you might have another lamp running or just natural sunlight, but you'd have this set up with the UVB running near the canopy. So I don't know if I'll ever be growing buds, so I don't know, but I'm just passing on to you why it's in there. Now, they might also have an effect on things like tomatoes or anything that fruits and blooms, so I can't tell you too much about that. I'm more interested in being able to dim it from the veg mode to the bloom mode, because I've got currently out in the greenhouse a lot of greens. I've got lettuce and spinach and that sort of thing, and they don't want that much red. They will grow with red, but they grow a little bit strangely with a lot of red. So I may be able to use my setup here, use the remote to just set the amount of red that I want, and then have a lot of blue and white and yellow light and other light spectrums that will be really good for the greens that I'm growing now. But later I do want to have some tomatoes and other things, and when they hit the flowering and tomato stage, then I'll turn on the reds and really let it happen. Alright, so I have the LumniGrow 200R set up just in my little office to see if I can test it out. This isn't in my greenhouse. Right now it's running on veg mode, and as you can see we've got a pretty white light. Let's see if I can get this plant down under there. You can get an idea maybe of what's coming off the plant now. That's not a fair plant to use. I think that's a sage plant, and it's got a lot of sort of luminescence, fuzziness to it anyway, but that's the light that's hitting it in veg mode. The fan is about what I expect in most LEDs. I don't think that light is anywhere near 650 watts, but to be fair, they've turned off part of the spectrum in order to create the veg mode. So, according to the manual, I don't know if you can see that, but veg mode, channel 1 is 20%, channel 2 50%, channel 3 100%, channel 4 0%. Well, 0 is the red, infrared spectrum, as far as I can tell, channel 4. And the UVB spectrum is on channel 2, because on the UVB chart here, if I choose UVB, channel 2 is 100% and all the rest are 0. I may turn channel 2 down then, because if I'm going to use it in my little office with some plants under it, I don't know if I want a bunch of UVB light shining, and also I have a cat. I don't want my cat looking up at this light and getting UVB rays, so I may have to turn those down. Now, if I change it to bloom, channel 1 is going to be 100%, channel 2 80%, so that's a lot of UVB for it. Nothing in channel 3, and it's not like they tell you what channel 3 actually represents. I'm going to have to go through their whole Apple or their iPhone, smartphone kind of setup to figure out what these channels represent, because they don't tell you. And then channel 4 is 100%, but what I can tell you is that when I switch it using this remote, which actually does work, you have to pull a little strip out and then the battery works. It'll probably last 2 or 3 years, and then it will run out the battery, and I don't know what you do then. Maybe you order another one, or maybe the light's defunct by then. But okay, so I'm going to switch it to bloom, and one thing I noticed when I had it on bloom is it's really loud. The light gets quite full, but the fans crank up. So that's quite a bit of light. Nice red light. A lot of plants would like that. But I couldn't have that fan running in my little office or in my house. So if you're going to buy one of these for just a house use, I don't know. The advantage to having a lot of the blue in it when your plants are very young, you just transplanted some seedlings, it tends to keep them compact. They're down there low. Whereas if you have a lot of red in the bloom mode, then they get leggy and they start running up taller. And if you're growing in a room with limited ceilings, eventually you're going to get a very tall plant. Perhaps you'd like to have some of the blue light, but also just for things like lettuce where you don't really want it to be tall, you want it to spread out full, then again you'll want the veg mode. I'm Alex Smith. Find my weekly program Radio Ecoshock at ecoshock.org, and you can find this course there, Build a Geothermal Greenhouse in Your Backyard, as well. For 3 years I tested keeping plants alive in all weather in Canada. I took videos and notes all along, from the bare ground through construction and operation, showing you how.